He had survived a lifetime of enemies, but the sound inside his country house stopped him colder than any gun ever had. A lullaby his mother used to hum, the one nobody else should have known. He should have turned around. But he moved up the hallway anyway, silent, controlled, because this house in the Hudson Valley was supposed to be empty. A thin glow leaked from under the locked guest room door. The lullaby died mid-note. But before we continue, I want to make a very special invitation. Subscribe to the channel and leave your like. This helps me see that you support me and are enjoying my stories. And comment below which city you're watching us from. Now let's continue. He pushed the door open with 2 fingers, making it a question instead of an attack. Inside, a woman sat on the edge of the bed, one arm around a little boy about 4, the other around a little girl about 6. They were kids, too small for the fear in their eyes. The boy clutched a broken toy car. The girl held a blanket to her mouth. The woman stood fast between him and them. She was thin, eyes sharp with panic and defiance. "Please," she said, voice shaking but steady. "Don't." He kept his hands open at his sides. "You're in the wrong house," he said. She swallowed. No. That word hit him harder than it should have. He'd heard grown men beg, lie, bargain. This was a mother deciding she'd rather be ruined than let her children be taken. He took a slow breath. "What's your name?" She hesitated, then gave him a shield. "Claire. How did you get in?" Her chin tipped toward the closet. "There's a hatch behind the cedar panel." His blood cooled. That hatch wasn't in any blueprint. Only 3 people had ever known about it. 2 were dead. 1 was him. He forced his voice to stay level. "Who told you?" Claire's eyes shone, but she didn't look away. "My husband." Lily's gaze stayed locked on him, brave and furious. Ben leaned into her, fingers digging into her sweater. He heard a faint shift downstairs. Not a creak, a presence. "Why are you here?" he asked. Claire's voice broke on the first word, then steadied. "Because he's dead. Because they came to our apartment and tore it apart. Because they said he stole from them. He didn't. He kept records. He said if anything happened, I had to bring the kids to the stone house with the cracked fireplace. He said this place was the only place they wouldn't look." The boy's stomach growled, loud in the silence. He tried to press his lips together like he could swallow the sound. The girl tensed, embarrassed, angry at her own body for betraying her. The boss stared at the 2 kids and felt something in him crack, something he'd sealed up years ago. Hunger was a simple thing. It wasn't politics. It wasn't money. It was a child's stomach begging the world to be decent. He lowered his voice. "How long since they ate?" Claire's shoulders sagged a fraction. "Yesterday morning." Lily lifted her chin. "We're fine," she said, even though her eyes were wet. "Mama said we just have to be quiet." He nodded once like he respected her, because he did. "What are their names?" Claire touched each child gently, as if naming them would keep them real. "Lily," she said, "and Ben." He repeated them in his head. Lily, Ben, kids, not props, not collateral, kids who deserved a world without men like him. He stepped back, giving Claire space. "Stay here," he said. "Lock the door. Don't open it for anyone but me." Her eyes widened. "Are you leaving us?" "I'm making sure the house is clean," he said. And because he saw Lily watching his mouth like she was counting lies, he added, "And I'll bring food." He closed the door without slamming it. In the hallway, his hand went to the gun in his jacket. Not dramatic, not eager, just ready. He moved downstairs, placing each step where the boards wouldn't complain. The living room was dark. The fireplace was dead. The study door sat slightly open. He stopped at the gap and listened. A slow breath. Someone else, calm enough to wait in his sanctuary. He pushed the door wider. A man stood near the wall panel that hid the safe, his suit cheap, his smile too relaxed. Not one of his people. Not local. "Mr. Moretti," the stranger said, tasting the name like it belonged to him, "we need to talk about what's in your safe." The boss kept his gun low. He didn't point it yet. He let the man see he wasn't afraid, but he wasn't rushing either. "You're not here for the safe," he said. "You're here because you think the widow will open it for you." The man's eyes flicked just once, toward the stairs. He knew the kids were here. That glance explained everything. Claire hadn't found this house by luck. She'd been steered here like bait dropped into a trap. The lullaby, the hatch, the only safe place, all designed to bring her to the files that could bury kings. The stranger lifted his hands as if this was a business meeting. No need for trouble, he said. Give us the records. The woman and the children walk away. Everyone wins. The boss felt the old ice in his chest, the part that made decisions without shaking. He pictured Lily and Ben and Claire singing like prayer. He stepped forward one pace. Tell whoever sent you, he said quietly, that if anyone touches those kids, I will tear apart every deal, every friendship, every promise holding this city together. The stranger's smile thinned. You'd start a war for a widow you don't even know? The boss didn't blink. No, he said. I'd end one. And as he said it, he understood the twist that made his stomach drop. Whoever had led Claire here didn't expect him to protect her. They expected him to use her. They expected him to be what he'd always been. Tonight, he was going to disappoint them. He didn't shoot the stranger, not because he couldn't, because the man stood too comfortably like he wanted a bullet, like a dead messenger would be an excuse for the real wolves to come. So the boss did something colder. He spoke into his phone without looking away. Gabe, 2 cars, quiet. The stranger's smile twitched. Calling your boys? I'm calling people who owe me, the boss said. He kept the gun low, angled down, the way a man does when he's certain he can raise it first. A soft thud came from upstairs, a kid shifting in sleep. The boss's jaw tightened. Nobody was supposed to be here. Now 2 kids were. Who sent you? He asked. You know the rules, the stranger said. I deliver. The boss stepped closer, slow. He watched the man's eyes track his hands. The stranger wasn't armed in a way you could see. He was armed in a way you could feel. You came for my safe, the boss said. The stranger's gaze flicked toward the wall panel that hid it. I came for what she brings, he corrected. The widow. The records her husband kept. The boss felt the pieces click. Claire's husband hadn't been a thief. He'd been a witness, and witnesses always believed paper could protect them. A faint stomach growl floated from upstairs, small and humiliating in the silence. A child's body asking for food, while men argued about files. The boss's voice stayed level. What's your name? The stranger hesitated, not because he cared, because names made things personal. Evan, he said. The boss nodded, filing it away. Evan, when they sent you, did they promise they'd pull you out if it went bad? Evan's eyes narrowed. Don't pretend you care. I don't, the boss said. Then he added the truth because it was useful. But I care what you'll do if you realize you're disposable. Evan's jaw flexed. The boss could almost see the moment he understood. This job was a test, and he was the pencil. Who is they? The boss asked. Evan's lips tightened. Liam Rourke. The name landed like a bruise. Rourke ran his crew like a boardroom, smiling while he ruined lives. The boss had avoided open war with him for years because wars made headlines and headlines made investigations. Now Rourke had found a cleaner way. A widow, 2 kids, a safe full of proof. The boss raised his voice just enough to carry upstairs. Claire, keep the door locked. Stay with Lily and Ben. A whisper came back through the wood. Okay. Evan heard it. His face shifted. A flicker of discomfort. Not mercy. Math. Kids changed the equation. Tell Rourke, the boss said softly, that if he touches those children he'll lose more than money. Evan's mouth curled. You think you're a hero tonight? I'm not, the boss replied. I'm a problem. Outside, tires whispered on gravel. A car door shut. Then another. Gabe had arrived. Evan's shoulders lifted slightly, ready to bolt. The boss stepped into his path, not pointing the gun, just owning the space. Here's your exit, the boss said. You walk out. You tell Rourke you didn't find me. You disappear. Evan laughed, sharp and scared. And you think he'll let me live? The boss leaned closer. He won't, he said. Not after tonight. He doesn't keep loose ends. He turns them into warnings. Evan's eyes darted once toward the stairs again. The boss saw what he was thinking. If he couldn't leave with something, he could leave with leverage. The boss's voice dropped to a whisper. If you go upstairs, you die here. Evan swallowed. It was the first human thing he'd done all night. The boss opened the study door wider and nodded toward the hall. Go. Evan moved, hands visible, eyes down. Gabe appeared at the end of the hallway, built like a wall. His gaze snapped from Evan to the boss, waiting for permission. Let him leave, the boss said. Gabe's brow creased. Boss, let him leave. Evan walked out into the night, fast, as if the cold could hide him. The boss exhaled once. The house still felt wrong. like it had been invaded not by a man but by fate. Rourke had sent a scout. Next time he would send something heavier, something meant to hurt instead of talk. He went upstairs, knocked softly, and opened the guest room door just enough to show his face. Claire stood like a shield, shoulders squared, eyes burning with fear and fury. Lily clutched the blanket. Ben held his broken toy car like it was a weapon, 4 years old and trying to be brave. The boss carried a tray from the kitchen, bread, peanut butter, apples, water. Nothing fancy, just survival. He set it on the dresser and stepped back. "Eat," he said. "All of you." Claire's voice trembled. "Who was that?" "Trouble," the boss answered. "And trouble is coming again." Lily's eyes narrowed. "Are you going to send us away?" The boss looked at her, 6 years old and already bargaining for safety. He shook his head once. "No," he said. "I'm going to do something I should have done a long time ago." Claire's gaze searched his face. "Why?" He didn't give her a pretty answer. He gave her the only honest one. "Because your husband trusted me with the one thing I never deserved," he said. "And if that trust got him killed, so I'm going to make it mean something." Ben didn't move at first. He stared at the food like it might vanish. Then Lily took an apple, snapped it in half, and handed the bigger piece to her brother. Claire's breath shuddered as she watched them chew, slow and careful, like they'd learned to make small things last. The boss turned away, pretending to check the hallway, because that kind of relief felt like a mirror he didn't want to see himself there. Morning fog hung over the Hudson Valley like a clean sheet meant to hide a stain. The boss stood at the kitchen window with coffee he didn't taste, watching the gravel drive. This house had been a retreat. Overnight it had become a trap, and traps demanded discipline. Soft footsteps crossed the floor behind him. Lily, about 6, appeared in the doorway in an oversized sweatshirt. She held Ben's hand. Ben was 4, hair sticking up, clutching a broken toy car as if it could protect him. They were kids, the kind that should be arguing over cartoons, not learning how to stay silent. "You're up early," the boss said. Lily's eyes stayed on his hands. "Mama said we can't touch things." "Good rule," he said. "You hungry?" Ben nodded fast. Lily nodded slower, pride fighting need. The boss pulled oatmeal from the pantry, added honey and dried fruit, and set 3 bowls on the counter. He spoke to Ben the way you speak to someone you don't want to scare. "Careful, it's hot." Ben blew on it with serious concentration. Lily copied him, glancing up every few seconds like she expected the kindness to snap. Claire came in last, hair twisted up, face tight with exhaustion. She didn't sit. She stayed behind the kids, one hand resting on the back of Ben's chair, ready to pull him away. "You don't have to feed us," she said. "I do," the boss answered. Her eyes narrowed. "Why would my husband trust you?" That question hit him in a place he didn't show. He kept his voice even. "Because I owed him." What kind of debt? He didn't give her the whole story. He gave her the part that mattered. "He helped me once, when he didn't have to." Lily's spoon paused. "Are they coming back?" she asked. The boss looked at her and didn't lie. "Yes." Ben's lower lip trembled. "Bad men?" "Yes," the boss said quietly. "Bad men." Claire's breath shook. "Then we should leave, right now." "And lead them with you," he replied. "They already know you came here. Running turns you into a moving target with 2 little kids in the back seat." Claire went still. "They're watching." He nodded once. "Always." When the bowls were empty, he guided them into the study. Gabe waited inside, silent and ready. Claire flinched at the sight of him. Lily didn't. Lily stared at Gabe like she was memorizing him. Gabe's jaw tightened. Then he looked away. The boss closed the door. "Tell me everything," he said to Claire. "Every detail your husband gave you." Claire reached into her pocket and produced a folded sheet of paper, worn from being opened and closed too many times. She laid it on the desk. Names, dates, a few addresses. One phrase underlined twice: Rourke Logistics. "He said if anything happened," Claire whispered, "I had to bring this to you." The boss's pulse steadied. "He said my name?" Claire nodded. "He said you'd be angry, but you'd do it anyway." Gabe leaned in and scanned the list. "This isn't just street," he murmured. The boss saw it too. Contracts, transfers, fake invoices tied to real institutions, paper that could drag powerful men into the light. Claire hugged herself. "My husband said he found something that would get him killed. He started copying it. He told me to come to the stone house with the cracked fireplace. He said there was a hatch." The boss's eyes lifted to the wall panel behind the bookshelf. That hatch had been his secret. Only 3 people had ever known. 2 were dead, and he had never spoken of it. "Who showed him?" the boss asked. Claire swallowed. "He said, you did. Years ago. He said you were younger and you couldn't sleep. He said you asked him what it meant to be a good man." The words landed hard. The boss didn't remember the question, only the ache behind it. He glanced at Lily and Ben on the rug, Lily dealing old playing cards and teaching Ben to match colors. Ben giggled when he got one right, and the sound made the room feel wrong, like something gentle had wandered into a place built for harm. Claire's voice broke. "Please, I don't care about your war. I just want my children safe." The boss nodded. "Then we don't run," he said. "We make them come to us on our terms." Gabe frowned. "Boss, you're thinking—" "I'm thinking about leverage," the boss said, "but not theirs." He folded the paper and slid it into his jacket. Then he turned back to Claire, clear and firm. "You stay in the house, no porch, no windows, no calls. If you hear anything, you take Lily and Ben into the closet and you use the hatch. Understood?" Claire nodded, trembling. He opened a drawer and slid a simple flip phone across the desk. "No contacts," he said. "One number, mine. If you call, you say only 3 words. Blue porch light. That tells me you're using the hatch and you need me at the barn road, not the front drive." Lily looked up from the cards. "Are you the police?" she asked. The boss almost laughed, but it came out as a breath. "No," he said. "Are you our friend?" He held her gaze. "I'm the person your mom trusted because she had no one else," he said, "and I won't let anyone take you." Ben crawled into Claire's lap and tucked his toy car under his chin. Claire's eyes filled, but she nodded once, as if accepting a deal with fate. Outside, a car rolled past on the county road, too slow to be normal. The boss didn't move to the window. He didn't need to. He felt the attention like a spotlight. He picked up his phone. "I'm going to see Liam Rourke," he said, "and I'm going to make him think he's already won." The boss drove south with the radio off. The Hudson River flashed between trees, cold and metallic, and the highway signs looked too normal for what he carried in his jacket. A list that could collapse an empire, and the weight of 2 small kids who had slept under his roof. He didn't bring a convoy. He brought 1 car and Gabe in a second vehicle, far behind. If Rourke was watching, the boss wanted him to see confidence, not fear. Rourke's office sat above a distribution yard near Yonkers, dressed up as a logistics company with clean glass and polite security. Men like Rourke didn't hide in alleys. They hid in daylight. The boss entered alone. The receptionist smiled, then faltered when she recognized him. "Do you have an appointment?" "Tell Liam I'm here," the boss said. An elevator opened a minute later. Liam Rourke stepped out looking like money had raised him. Tall, neat, warm in the way a shark's water was warm. His suit was perfect. His eyes were not. "Dominic," Rourke said, spreading his arms, "you never visit." The boss shook his hand. "I'm trying something new." Rourke guided him into a conference room with a wall of windows overlooking trucks moving like clockwork. The boss chose a seat with his back to the wall. Habit. Rourke poured 2 glasses of water. "I heard you had a guest last night," he said lightly. So he knew. The boss didn't react. "People pass through," he said. "A widow," Rourke added. 2 children. Sad situation. The boss watched him shape the word children like it was a tool. "Sad," the boss agreed. Rourke folded his hands. "You're disciplined, Dominic. You don't let emotions steer the car." "Why did you send Evan?" the boss asked. Rourke didn't pretend. "To see if you were home, and to see if you'd be reasonable." "Reasonable," the boss repeated. "The widow has records," Rourke said. "Her husband got curious. Curiosity is expensive. I'd like to buy it before it becomes noise. Noise attracts agencies." "And the children?" the boss asked. Rourke's smile didn't change. "Unfortunate. But children adapt." Heat rose in the boss's chest. He buried it. He needed Rourke to believe he was still the man who could trade lives like currency. "So what's your offer?" the boss asked. Rourke opened his hands, generous. "You hand me the records. I hand you peace. Your territory stays yours. Your accounts stay untouched. The widow and her children vanish into a quiet life." The boss let a pause hang long enough to feel real. Then he nodded once, like a man making a painful compromise. "I can get you what you want," he said. Rourke's eyes sharpened. "Today." "Soon," the boss said. "But I want something first." "Of course." "I want the truth about her husband," the boss said. "Not rumors." Rourke's voice softened. People push where they shouldn't. Accidents happen. The boss reached into his jacket and placed the folded paper on the table between them. He didn't open it. He watched Rourke's eyes flick down anyway. "You mean like these accidents?" the boss asked. Rourke froze for a heartbeat, then laughed. "You brought them here," he said, amused. "Bold." "I brought a copy," the boss corrected. The room tightened. Rourke's warmth cooled into calculation. "If you have that," he said quietly, "then you understand the stakes." "I do," the boss replied. "That's why I'm here." Rourke leaned back. "Name your price." "The widow and the kids stay alive," the boss said. "No one follows them, no one threatens them, ever." Rourke's smile returned, smaller now. "You're sentimental." "I'm practical," the boss said. "Children as leverage makes me unpredictable. Unpredictable hurts profits." Rourke studied him, then nodded as if it were a business point. "Fine," he said, "but I want the originals." "You'll get them," the boss said. "Tonight." Rourke's eyes brightened. "Where?" "At my house," the boss said calmly. "You come yourself. No crews, no surprises. Bring one attorney to verify the paperwork so you feel safe. I bring the widow. She opens the safe. We exchange, then we walk away." Rourke's gaze sharpened. "You'd invite me into your home?" "I'm proving trust," the boss said, "and I'm making sure your people don't make a mistake with 2 kids nearby." Rourke tapped the table once, thinking. Then he nodded. "Tonight, 8. The boss stood, movement smooth. "If you betray me," he said, "those papers reach the one place you can't buy your way out of." Rourke smiled, cold. "If you betray me, you'll learn how small your house is." The boss left without looking back. In the elevator, the silence pressed against his ribs. He had just promised to deliver evidence to the man it could destroy. He had just invited a predator into a place where 2 kids were trying to feel safe. On the drive back north, he called the flip phone once and let it ring only twice. Claire answered in a whisper. In the background, he heard Lily teaching Ben to read the numbers on a wall clock, slow and proud, and Ben clapping like it was magic. "Everything quiet?" the boss asked. "Yes," Claire said, "but Lily asked if you were our friend." The boss's grip tightened on the wheel. "Tell her I'm trying," he said. Claire hesitated. "My husband made me promise to say one sentence if I reached you. He said you'd understand." "What sentence?" Claire swallowed. "He said the lullaby wasn't for the kids." The boss felt the blood drain from his face. He ended the call, knowing someone had used his past to open the door. If Rourke was the blade, this was the hand holding it close to him, close enough to know the hatch, the song, the timing, and the names too. And the worst part was the thought that wouldn't go away. Rourke wasn't the only one who wanted what was inside that safe. By late afternoon, Dominic Moretti walked his country house like a soldier walking a perimeter, not to admire it, but to memorize every angle where danger might slip through. Gabe and 2 trusted men covered the tree line and the barn road, far enough to stay unseen, close enough to close the distance if someone tried to bring trouble to the front door. Claire kept Lily and Ben near the kitchen because kitchens felt safer than bedrooms. Lily, about 6, sat at the table drawing a house, erasing doors, drawing them again. Ben, about 4, lined up spoons like little cars, making quiet engine noises he tried to swallow whenever he remembered to be silent. They were kids, and the wrongness of their fear made Dominic's plan harden into something more than strategy. Dominic crouched beside Lily. "If you need to hide," he said, "you go with your mom. Always." Lily stared at him like she was measuring the size of his promise. "Are you going to stop the bad man?" "I'm going to stop him," Dominic said. Ben looked up. "No loud," he whispered. "No loud," Dominic promised. He would win with timing and pressure, not blood on a floor. At 6:30, Dominic took Claire into the study and closed the door. "You said your husband left you a sentence," he said. "The lullaby wasn't for the kids." Claire's hands trembled. "He said it would make you listen." Dominic opened the wall panel behind the bookshelf and revealed a second safe, older, its metal worn. "That lullaby isn't a song," he said. "It's a pattern." He turned the dial in short, precise movements, humming under his breath. Click, click. The door gave way. Inside were documents, photographs, and a thick sealed envelope. Dominic's fingers hovered over it. He hadn't opened it in years because some truths were easier to survive when they stayed folded. Claire leaned in, then froze. The first photo showed a younger Dominic beside a woman with tired eyes and a stubborn smile. holding a newborn wrapped in a blue blanket. Another photo showed the same woman with a little girl whose grin looked painfully familiar. Claire's voice cracked. "That's Lily." Dominic pulled a birth certificate copy from the envelope. The signature at the bottom was his. Claire staggered back. "No, my husband." "Your husband raised them," Dominic said. "He protected them. That's what matters." His voice went rough. "Before I became what I am, I loved their mother. She tried to leave this life. She vanished. I was told she was dead. Your husband helped her disappear, kept her hidden, then kept the kids hidden when she got sick. He promised they would never be used as currency." Claire pressed a hand to her mouth. "Why didn't he tell me?" "Because telling you would put a target on you," Dominic said. "And because he didn't trust me to be anything but danger." A soft knock came at the door. Gabe's voice low and urgent. "Boss, they're here." Dominic looked at Claire. "Tonight you and the kids don't move unless I say. You don't speak unless I ask. Whatever happens, you keep them behind you." Claire swallowed. "What do you want from me?" Dominic surprised himself. "Live," he said. "That's what I want. Before we continue, tell me in the comments what you think of this story so far, and what you would do in his place. Don't leave the video because what comes next will give you chills." At 8 sharp, headlights cut through the fog. Liam Rourke's car rolled up first, clean and confident, followed by a second car that stayed back like a shadow. Dominic watched from the hall, face blank, pulse steady. Rourke entered with one man carrying a briefcase. The attorney, Dominic realized, wasn't here to verify anything. He was here to witness Dominic's surrender. Rourke smiled. "You look tired, Dominic." "I've had guests," Dominic said. "And the widow?" Rourke asked, eyes hunting. Dominic opened the study door. Claire stood inside, shoulders rigid. Lily and Ben were hidden in the closet with the hatch open, out of sight, but close enough for Dominic to feel them like a heartbeat. Rourke's gaze landed on Claire. "Mrs. Harper," he said warmly, "I'm sorry for your loss." Claire's jaw tightened. "Don't." Rourke's smile thinned. "Let's keep this business." He turned to Dominic. "Show me." Dominic pulled out a folder deliberately thin. "A copy," he said. "You get the rest when you keep your word." Rourke's eyes sharpened. "You're bargaining." Dominic held his gaze. "I'm drawing a line," he said, "and you're going to step over it." Rourke reached for the folder anyway, greed stronger than caution. Dominic let him touch it, let him think he'd won. Rourke flipped through the pages and chuckled, but his thumb lingered like he could smell the rest. The man with the briefcase opened it and set a small recorder on the table. "For accuracy," he said, calm and practiced. Dominic nodded as if he didn't mind, even though it meant Rourke wanted a clean record of Dominic submitting. Claire's eyes darted toward the closet. A tiny scrape came from inside, a kid shifting feet. Dominic didn't look. Looking would point. Rourke leaned closer. "Bring her here," he murmured, as if Claire were luggage. "Have her open the safe. Let's stop pretending." Dominic smiled without warmth. "You don't give orders in my house," he said. "Not tonight." Rourke's control slipped, just a hair. "Careful," he warned. Dominic's voice stayed even. "Here's the truth," he said. "I'm done letting men like you use children to feel powerful." Because while Rourke stood in Dominic's home talking too freely, Dominic's phone in his pocket captured every sentence, every threat, every admission. Not to start a war. He watched Rourke's eyes, waiting for the moment greed turned into anger. If anger came, Dominic had exits, codes, and men in the dark. Mostly, he had resolve for good. To end one. Rourke tapped the thin folder like it offended him. "This isn't enough," he said, voice soft, the way men spoke right before they stopped being polite. Dominic stayed near the study door, positioned so his body could block the hall with one step. "It's what you get until you keep your word," he answered. The attorney slid the recorder closer. "State your terms again," he said, eyes on Dominic. Dominic understood the play. They wanted him on tape too, admitting the safe existed, admitting the papers mattered, admitting he was part of the machine. If Rourke couldn't take everything tonight, he could still take leverage. "My terms are simple," Dominic said. "You don't touch Claire, you don't touch the children, you walk away tonight with what I gave you, and you never come back." Rourke's smile sharpened. "Children," he repeated, tasting the word. "So they are here." Claire stiffened. Dominic felt it like a wire tightening. He kept his face blank. "Don't start," he said. Rourke pushed back his chair. "Show me the safe." Dominic didn't move. "No." Rourke's eyes went flat. "You invited me. You promised." I promised you originals after you kept your word, Dominic said. I'm still waiting on proof you can. Rourke took one step toward Claire. It was small, measured, but it pulled the air out of the room. Claire's hands clenched at her sides. Dominic's voice dropped. Stop! The attorney lifted a palm, pretending to calm the situation. Mr. Moretti, he said, we can do this without drama. The children will be fine. That line told Dominic everything. The man knew where the kids were. He'd heard them, or he'd been told. Either way, the closet was now a target. Dominic spoke without turning his head. Gabe, he called steady. Blue porch light. It was the code, not for Claire, for his people. It meant move the children now. Rourke's gaze snapped to Dominic. What did you just say? Dominic smiled like he was bored. Nothing you can use, he replied. Behind him, somewhere in the house, a faint thump answered, the soft sound of the closet panel shifting. Dominic kept his face still while his chest tried to break open. Rourke stepped closer. Open it, he said. Dominic held the thin folder up. Oh, you want proof? He asked. Start talking. Tell your lawyer what you did to Claire's husband. Rourke's nostrils flared. He stole. Dominic tilted his head. From who? Rourke's eyes flicked to the recorder, then back. Pride won. From me, he said. From my company. From my men. He thought paper made him brave. And what did you do? Dominic asked, voice calm as ice. Rourke leaned in close enough for Dominic to smell expensive cologne. I corrected the problem, he said. The attorney watched, satisfied. He thought Dominic was digging his own grave. Dominic asked one more question, the one he needed. And if the widow refuses to hand over what you want? Rourke's smile returned, cold and confident. Then she learns what happens when you make me repeat myself. Claire's breath hitched. Dominic held up a hand toward her without looking. Stay behind me. Rourke's eyes slid past Dominic to the hallway. Where are they? He asked, too casual. Dominic shrugged. Not your concern. Rourke turned his head, listening. The house was quiet, but not perfectly quiet. Kids were small, not invisible. He took 2 steps toward the hall. Dominic moved in front of him, smooth, firm. I said no. Rourke's face tightened. You're choosing them over business. Dominic's voice went lower. I'm choosing them over you. The attorney stood, anger flashing. Mr. Moretti, you are making a mistake. Dominic looked at him for the first time. What's your real name? He asked. The man hesitated. Dominic saw it, a lie trying to find its clothes. Rourke shoved Dominic's shoulder, just enough to test. Dominic didn't fall. He didn't raise his gun either. He only stepped closer, forcing Rourke to look at him instead of the hallway. Outside, a distant engine rolled on the county road, then another, then the soft crunch of tires on gravel that didn't belong to Rourke's 2 cars. Rourke heard it. His eyes narrowed. Who did you call? Dominic kept his voice even. People who don't negotiate with threats to kids. Rourke's jaw clenched. He reached into his coat and pulled out his phone, then froze when he saw Gabe appear at the end of the hall, silent and still. One hand raised in a small signal that meant the hatch was open and the children were gone. For the first time, Rourke looked uncertain. Where did you send them? He demanded. Dominic felt relief flood through him so hard it almost made him dizzy. He used it like fuel. Somewhere you can't reach, he said. Rourke's eyes burned. You think you can hide them from me? Dominic leaned in. I know I can, he said, because tonight you walked into my home, admitted what you've done, and you did it while being recorded by someone you don't know is already on their way up my driveway. The attorney snapped his briefcase shut, suddenly less calm. Liam, he hissed. Rourke took 1 step back, calculating exits. Dominic didn't block him this time. Go, he said. Run. But understand this. If you ever come near those kids again, you won't need a court to punish you. You'll have every enemy you ever made, and I'll be the first one at your door. Rourke stared at him, hatred and fear mixing into something ugly. Then he turned and walked fast out of the study, the attorney close behind, the recorder forgotten on the table like a dropped weapon. Dominic picked it up, thumbed it off, and finally let his breath out. He looked at Claire, saw her shaking, and realized saving children meant destroying the world that had built him, piece by piece. The next part wasn't about power, it was about consequences. The crunch of tires on gravel grew louder, then stopped. Dominic didn't move toward the window. He didn't need to see the cars to know they weren't Rourke's. The rhythm was different, purposeful, like people arriving with a plan and paperwork. Claire stood frozen near the desk, hands tight at her sides. "Who is it?" she whispered. Dominic kept his eyes on the hall. "The part of the world Rourke can't buy," he said. A knock came at the front door, not frantic, not aggressive. Professional. Gabe's voice echoed from the hallway as he crossed to answer. Dominic heard the quiet exchange of names, the sound of a badge wallet opening, the careful steps of strangers entering a private home. Then a woman appeared in the doorway of the study, mid-40s, dark hair pulled back, eyes sharp and tired. She wore a plain coat that still managed to look like authority. "Dominic Moretti," she said. "Agent Marquez." Dominic didn't smile. "You're early," he replied. "You made it sound urgent," she said, her gaze flicking to Claire, then back to him. "And you said there were children involved." Claire's shoulders sagged like the word agent had given her permission to breathe. Then fear returned, fast. "Are you here to arrest him?" she asked, voice cracking. Agent Marquez looked at Dominic without answering, as if the truth depended on his next move. Dominic reached for the recorder on the table and the thin folder Rourke had touched. He placed them in front of Marquez with both hands visible. "That's his voice," Dominic said. "And those are the first pages of what he's been hiding." Marquez didn't touch them yet. "Why are you doing this?" Dominic's jaw flexed. "Because he crossed a line," he said. Marquez's eyes narrowed. "That isn't an answer." Dominic glanced at Claire, then down at the photograph still lying open in the safe. "Because I owe someone," he said quietly, "and because 2 kids slept under my roof last night." Marquez finally picked up the recorder. "Where are they?" "Safe," Dominic answered. "Not in the house." Marquez held his gaze. "You understand what this means. If you give me enough, I can move on Rourke. But I don't get to pretend you're innocent." Dominic nodded once. "I'm not asking you to," he said. "I'm asking you to finish it." Claire stared at him as if she'd never really seen him until this moment. "You're giving yourself up," she whispered. Dominic didn't look away. "I'm giving them a future," he corrected. A radio crackled in the hallway. Dominic heard Gabe answer in a low voice, then heard the word Rourke spoken like a switch being flipped. Marquez turned her head slightly, listening to her own earpiece. "He's moving," she said. "2 vehicles. Leaving fast." Dominic felt the urge to run after him, old instinct pulling him toward the chase. He stayed still. This wasn't his hunt anymore. Marquez spoke into her mic, controlled and fast. "Units, intercept on Route 9. Do not escalate. Confirm identity and detain." Claire flinched at the word detain. Dominic softened his voice to her just enough. "No one gets hurt," he said. "Not tonight." Marquez's eyes flicked back. "You can't promise that." Dominic nodded toward the recorder. "Then I'll promise what I can control," he said. "I won't let this house become a battlefield." He stepped to the doorway and called down the hall. "Gabe, bring the kids back when it's clear. No sirens." Gabe's reply came from a distance. "Already moving, boss." Marquez studied Dominic like she was trying to decide whether he was brave or calculating. "You said you had more than a thin folder," she said. Dominic opened the safe wider and pulled out the thick envelope. Then another binder wrapped in plastic. "Copies," he said. "Ledger scans, shell companies, payoffs. Names you'll recognize and some you won't." He paused, swallowing something sharp. "And proof that the woman who brought those kids here was set up." Claire stiffened. "Set up?" Marquez glanced at Dominic. "Explain." Dominic kept it simple. "Rourke's people pushed Claire toward this house on purpose," he said. "They thought I'd use her to get what I wanted. They thought I'd hand her over when she stopped being useful." Claire's eyes filled. "So my husband died because of you." Dominic didn't flinch. "Your husband died because he tried to keep children out of a war," he said. "And because men like Rourke don't forgive courage." Silence stretched. In that silence, Dominic heard what mattered. No footsteps upstairs, no tiny voices. The kids were away from the room where adult decisions crushed air. A new voice came through Marquez's earpiece. "Agent, we have visual." 2 vehicles stopped. Subjects detained without incident. Claire sagged into the chair as if her body had been holding itself up with fear alone. Dominic felt his own shoulders loosen for the first time in days. Marquez nodded once, satisfied. "Good," she said. Then she looked at Dominic. "Now it's your turn. You're coming with us." Claire jerked her head up. "No," she said. "You can't. He saved us. Marquez's voice stayed calm. Saving you doesn't erase his crimes, she said. Dominic stepped closer to Claire, careful not to touch her like he had the right. Listen to me, he said softly. This is how it ends. This is the only ending that doesn't circle back. Claire's tears fell, quiet and angry. What about Lily and Ben? Dominic's throat tightened. They won't be alone, he said. Not anymore. I'll make sure of it, even from the other side of a cell. Marquez watched him for a long beat. If you cooperate fully, she said, the court will hear it. Dominic nodded. I will, he said. Then to Claire, almost a whisper, your husband didn't die for nothing. Outside, as the night air cooled and the fog thickened, Dominic Moretti felt something unfamiliar settle into his chest. He chose the hard road. Not victory, relief. The courtroom smelled like polished wood and old air. Dominic Moretti sat in a plain suit that didn't fit the way power used to. Behind him, Claire sat with Lily and Ben. Lily was 7 now, Ben 5, still unmistakably kids in a room made for adult consequences. Lily's feet didn't touch the floor. Ben's little tie kept sliding sideways. Dominic hated that they already knew how to be quiet. Liam Rourke walked in with attorneys and a face that said rules were for other people. Agent Marquez played the recording from Dominic's study. Rourke's own voice filled the room, calm as he threatened a widow and spoke about correcting a problem. The jury watched him, and for the first time, Rourke looked like a man realizing charm couldn't buy gravity. Then Dominic took the stand. He swore in and sat hands flat, not for show, but to keep himself steady. The prosecutor didn't ask him to pretend. Why did you record him? The prosecutor said. Because he threatened children, Dominic answered. And because I was done calling that business. Were you involved in crime? The prosecutor asked. Yes, Dominic said. For years. The courtroom stirred. Dominic didn't soften it, didn't decorate it. He let the truth be heavy. Why come forward now? The prosecutor asked. Dominic glanced back, just once, at Lily and Ben. Because someone better than me died trying to keep them safe, he said. And because silence was another kind of violence. Rourke's attorney tried to tear Dominic apart. Dominic didn't fight the parts that were true. He only refused to let anyone reduce Claire to bait or the children to leverage. They are children, Dominic said when the attorney pressed. Not currency, not collateral, children. The evidence did the rest. The ledgers, the shell companies, the transfers, the admissions on tape. Days later, the verdict came down. Liam Rourke was convicted on charges that stripped him of his swagger and left him with time as his punishment. The sentence was long enough that his name would fade before he ever walked free again. Dominic was sentenced too. The judge looked at him like a man seeing both the damage and the late attempt to repair it. You did the right thing, the judge said, but you did it after years of wrong. The court gave him years, not decades, because cooperation mattered, because the recordings mattered, because lives had been protected that night, but consequence still mattered. Dominic served his time without glamour. He ate in loud rooms, slept under harsh lights, and learned what it felt like to be nobody. He wrote letters to Claire he wasn't sure he deserved to send. Claire wrote back anyway, never calling him a hero, never excusing him, only telling him what the kids were learning and what made them laugh. Normal things, precious things. When Dominic was released under strict supervision, there was no empire waiting. It had been dismantled, seized, sold off, turned into evidence and restitution. Dominic didn't chase it. He let it go like a man dropping a weight he'd carried too long. Agent Marquez met him at the gate. New address, she said. New rules. You stay clean, you stay quiet, and you don't go looking for your old life. Dominic nodded. I'm not looking, he said. He moved to a small town upstate where the air smelled like pine instead of gasoline. The house was modest. The silence was loud at first. Then it became something else. Space. Weeks later, Claire drove up in a used sedan. Lily climbed out first with a drawing in her hands. Ben followed, holding his toy car repaired with tape. They were still kids, but their shoulders weren't as tight. Claire stayed by the car, measuring Dominic with the caution of a woman who had learned the price of trusting anyone. Dominic didn't step closer. He left the distance where she put it. You didn't have to come, he said. They asked, Claire replied. They said you kept your promise. Lily walked up and held out her drawing. It was a map of a little house with a porch and 3 stick figures standing close together. A fourth figure stood a little farther away, approaching. "Is this your house?" Lily asked. Dominic swallowed. "It is," he said. Ben tugged his sleeve. "No loud?" he asked, small and serious. Dominic crouched to Ben's height. "No loud," he promised. "Only safe." Ben nodded like that was a contract and ran to the porch steps. Claire's voice softened, just a little. "Ethan wanted them to never feel owned," she said. Dominic nodded. "Then I'll spend the rest of my life making sure they don't," he said. Claire looked at him for a long moment, then gave a tired, honest smile. "Start with lunch," she said. "They're starving." Dominic laughed quietly and opened the door. For the first time, the future felt like something he could earn, one ordinary day at a time. That fall, Dominic took a job repairing fences and hauling supplies for a local farm, work that left his hands sore and his mind quiet. He opened a small savings account in his own name and watched it grow one honest deposit at a time. Claire set boundaries that didn't bend, visits only when she was present, no secrets, and no sudden gifts meant to buy love. Dominic accepted every rule because rules proved this life was real. On Lily's first day of second grade, he stood at the far end of the sidewalk while Claire walked the kids to class. Lily turned once and waved, proud and unafraid. Ben waved too, then ran after his sister, laughing. Dominic didn't follow them inside, he just watched, grateful, and promised himself he would keep choosing the quiet path, even when nobody was watching. What did you think of the story? Subscribe to the channel and share it with someone who will also be moved today.